Hello, welcome to this video. So today I am going to look at a prominent question that a lot of people keep on asking me, and the question is that how to be hopeful during the climate crisis or climate change. Now in the social media and over the internet, if you look at the answers for this question, or the people who sell this question are mostly people from the developed world. Social media influencers and commentators mostly from the first world, from the US, from UK, from Europe are keep on talking about how to be hopeful during climate crisis. Now of course this question is quite a political question first of all. Now we are talking about this question or thinking about answering this question at a time when a lot of people in the planet have already lost their homes, their lives, their livelihoods, their cultures, their civilizations for anthropogenic climate change. So we are talking about an unfair future already, or an unfair present already. So this has to be kept in mind first of all when we answer or when we think about the future or how to be hopeful. Now first of all the data or the science about anthropogenic climate change is so clear that we do have some immediate or fast closing windows given by the assessments by the IPCC and the best science that are available. Now the scientists already have told us that if we want to secure a livable planet, what needs to be done is immediate cut in greenhouse gases. Now if we look at the action towards cutting greenhouse gases all across the globe, we have not been able to do that in ways that are required. So we are surviving or living in such conditions already. So then when we talk about how to be hopeful is majorly one question. It's about what do we then do so that we are hopeful about that. So for me this question need to be primarily answered and evolved or looked at in ways in which how do we act towards the problem of anthropogenic climate change. What do we do so that those actions are also important and those actions give us hopes for the future and even hopes for where we are now today. So what is most important are our actions. Now these are not smaller individual actions, these are also actions in the ways in which how do we influence global, national, local, individual, community attitudes, policies, actions that would contribute in some or the other way to prevent global warming and climate change. So these actions are very central in answering this question. Of course it is quite unfair for a child who is born now, or a small boy or a small girl or a small person to be said that see look, you have an unfair world or an unfair planet already, so you have to act. So we are standing in such an unfair planet already. It is then is the responsibility of the historic emitters and the historic emitting countries, particularly countries such as US and Europe, and the people who still live in these countries, that they have to lead the climate action. And sadly what we see, the youth of these countries are also the people who are talking about hope when people, human, non-human, are dying or have already died and lost their lives, civilizations, cultures, people to anthropogenic climate change in parts of South America, in parts of Asia, Africa, small island countries and small island nations. So what we need to do, or the people who are propagating hope or thinking about hope, I mean of course I am not somebody who want to speak against hope, but when we speak about hope, that also come with a lot of responsibilities. So let that responsibilities predominantly that lies with people, countries, continents who have done higher historic emissions, they need to lead, the people in those countries need to lead this. Let the unfair talking about just hope or the climate anxiety from the young people of these particular countries does not lead us into false hopes. What we need is not the false hope, but what we need is original organic commitments and individual collective actions that also come from these people who are talking about hopes for the future and hopes for the present. Otherwise, what we are doing is something that is again perpetuating inequality and injustice on the top of an already unjust, unfair world that have caused a lot of catastrophes in terms of not only climate change, in terms of colonialism, in terms of killing and butchering of indigenous people in many parts of the world historically. So, when we talk about hope, let us also talk about actions, let us also talk about responsibilities and how much responsibilities are we taking when we talk about hope. So, this is my appeal, this is my request. Predominantly people, individuals, organizations, communities in the first world, particularly in the US, Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand and so on, and the developed economies and countries even in Asia, to lead, to take responsibilities, not only just think about your hope, your future or your children's future. It is also about the future of countries in the sub-Saharan Africa, it is also the future of children in the small and island countries, it is also the future of children who live in the Amazon forests, it is also the future of the people who live adjacent to the Himalayas, it is also the future of indigenous communities who live and survive and protect the environment historically and even now. So, let the actions speak more than the words about hope. Let actions lead us when we speak about hope. Let actions give us ways to hopes. So, that is the fundamental way when I think about hope and when I think about how do we be hopeful during the climate crises.